So, good evening, friends. Very happy to be part of this forum. Today, the topic what I have chosen is preparing for next normal, adversity to advantage through purpose, grit, hope, and resilience. The times that what we are undergoing currently is totally unprecedented. We have not even had a trace of this in our imagination 5 months back. We were all hoping that things would go upon as per our plan, as per our schedule. But it caught the pandemic, COVID-19, caught everyone unawares. And as a result of it, we are really struggling and we are all confined to our homes because of the lockdown. There are people who consider this as a complete adversity and they feel cocooned, they become claustrophobic, and more than that, they also develop symptoms of depression and other, what I could say, psychological problems and issues. But the purpose of this webinar is how we could transform that feelings and how we could convert it into advantage, right? How we could make adversity to advantage, how problem to opportunity. I think that's the way we would like to look at it through that prism, for which I am actually making use of these four important traits, what I call it as the grit, the hope, the resilience, and more importantly, the purpose. Now, dear friends, there is always a question that is being asked, right? Uh, the world that what we are living currently, will it come to an end? People don't have an answer for that, right? Prime ministers of all countries, or what I could say, gearing up, they put their heads together and they wanted to resolve this and put a full stop to this pandemic. But still, we are not gaining any traction on the stoppage of this disease. We call this new normal as UKA, right? UKA we mean as the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, right? No one knows what's in store tomorrow, right? Everything is uncertain, everything is complex, whether it is in the home life or in the professional life or in the corporate life or even the size of the market, the business, everything there is complete uncertainty. Though customers want business continuity, operational stability, fulfillment, predictability, all they are expecting, but still we are finding it very difficult. We operate with bare minimum margin of employees at the offices. So instead of looking at it from a negative way, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, I would like to move on with a different lens. Instead of volatility, we must have vision. Instead of uncertainty, we must have understanding. Instead of complexity, we must move to clarity. Instead of ambiguity, we must move to agility. So vision, understanding, clarity, agility are the real need of the hour. When I say vision, we must have the vision or the directional clarity, or we should have the destinational clarity, what we want to be, where we want to be, how our life would like to be, right? I think that is what I call it is as vision. Not only you must know about it, you must also have an understanding of that very clearly, right? Particularly, what about your natural gifts, what about your strengths, what about your preferences, what about your I could say your value systems. You must have a complete understanding of all those things. And with that clarity, you can move upon. You can just be nimble upon and navigate the, what I could say, the rough terrains of the reality. If we don't make that attempt, we will definitely be wiped by the tsunami of change. We don't want that to happen. So the question that comes to us is, can we control the entire environment if we have all these weapons, right? So we cannot control what happens to us, right? More importantly, we can always think of what happens to us is not important. What is happening through us is more important. We have the gift of choosing the right type of response. We have the gift of giving the intelligent response of how we could respond when things go wrong, how we could respond when things go haywire. I think we have that capability. We have that capacity. I think with that capacity, we have to move upon. As someone rightly said, there is nothing either good or bad, except thinking makes it so. We are people who always tend to get ourselves feel upset because of our catastrophized thinking. We always tend to awfulize, we always tend to magnify. Because of this, we become miserable, and we also make miserable, or we also make others also miserable by our thought process. Having said that, I would just invite you to the world of purpose now at this point of time. All of you would have heard about this Japanese concept called ikigai. If you just Google ikigai, if you just Google, you could get millions of literature on the concept ikigai, where they really wanted to focus on what you love, what you are good at, and what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. It's an amazing concept, meaning we should not do vocation, we should not do just work. Purpose is beyond work, purpose is beyond the vocation, right? How it is larger than one's own life, right? More importantly, you must know that we have to give our heart and soul into what we do. And and importantly, at the end of the day, you should always say to yourself, is the day a fulfilling day, right? Have I really made difference to people around? Have I really touched the lives of someone? Have I brought smiles to few people around me, right? And have I really contributed at least 1% to the community where I am living? So I really wanted to have long lasting, enduring meaning of my own life, and for which the purpose really assumes greater significance. I really wanted to take you through few examples who are all iconic examples. I think you may be able to recognize the first person, Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates is considered to be as one of the richest persons in the world, right? A Microsoft founder, the owner, the iconic person. But having built such mega empire, he didn't want to focus only on generating money. He really wanted to contribute to the cause of the community. You have the Bill Gates Foundation. Then Warren Buffett is again another philanthropist. He also have a lot of philanthropic foundation. And likewise, Ratan Tata, you could be able to see our Indian giant, right? The business tycoon. He has got lot of philanthropic work activities going on under the Tata Trust. Likewise, Azim Premji's foundation. So this, and likewise Sudha Murthy, wife of Mr. Narayana Murthy, the mentor of the chief mentor of Infosys. So these people are really giving their heart and soul, their and their entire life for the sake of the community. I think I need not talk about Mother Teresa, who exemplifies, who personifies the entire sacrifice, the spirit of service, everything. So these people demonstrate purpose in their life. When you are actually crafting purpose for yourself, you must always think, it is not that what is it for me. You should always ask the question, what is it for the society? What is it for the community? Will it really serve the larger purpose of the mankind? Will it really be a person who could at least make even 1% or 0.01% in changing the lives of the people? I think that's the way you must always ask. Having talked about purpose, I think the discussion on purpose will not be complete if I do not talk about passion. I think almost we could say passion and purpose are the Siamese cousins. You could see the first person is Mr. Tendulkar here. Sachin Tendulkar is the god of cricket, people say. And we have Raghuman, A.R. Raghuman here, Oscar Awadi, you have Vishwanathan Anand, the great legendary chess player. So these are all the three players that come to my mind immediately when I think of passion. When I think of passion. So these people really, what I could say, sweat and have enormous degree of practice, and in fact, they go beyond the 10,000 hour role or 10,000 hour rule and start excelling in the respective field. I think that's the way I could see these kind of legends. When you just look at the second row, I was able to bring three distinguished personalities. The first person whom I am referring to is John Milton. I think he's a guy who wrote Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. If you could just scroll through the history of John Milton, he was actually blind when he wrote the Paradise Lost. It is considered to be as one of the epic. No one could have ever thought of writing such a, what I could say, long, lengthy erudition of the Paradise Lost and likewise Paradise Regained, right? And the second person is Helen Keller. I think all of you have heard about her. She was born blind, born deaf, dumb, but still she made a big mark and she has created a legacy. The third person is Nick. I think I would urge every one of you to look into the YouTube and then see the Nick video. Really a great source of inspiration. He doesn't have the hand and again does not have the legs, but still he's able to still make a big impact by leveraging his full potential. So the message what I wanted to what I could say leave behind all of you is we must have purpose in our life. We must necessarily be cognizant of our natural gifts. We must be aware of where our interests are. We must always be aware of where the calling is all about, right? So these are one of the takeaways from this session. I would like you to focus on this and probably at your leisure time, kindly go through what I could say the biographies of these legends, and definitely I'm sure you will get inspired. Having said about passion, having talked about purpose, now I'm just shifting gears and then I'm going to introduce a new concept called, I could say, as grit. Uh, when I say grit, how many of you have really heard about the term grit, right? Why grit matters here, right? When I say grit matters because it is more than the talent. The person who actually introduced the concept of grit to the entire world, actually who popularized the concept of grit to the entire world, is none other than Angela Lee Duckworth. She is actually the professor of psychology at University of Penn, and she's also the chairperson, CEO, and founder of Character Lab at University of Penn. Having graduated from Harvard, having graduated from Oxford, she has completely devoted her entire attention and she has made a lot of research in the area of grit by aligning with several professors from the University of Stanford, University of Chicago, University of Oxford, and so many university professors joined with her and they completed the study on the grit. What she's actually saying is, I think it is very, very clear, loud and clear, I could say, it is not the talent that results in success. It is not the social intelligence that results success. It's not the predictor of success. It is not the intelligence that's the predictor of success. What is the single most predictor is the grit, right? Now, when I say grit, I would say we would like I would like every one of you here in the session to lead your life with grit. If you start leading your life with grit, I would say without any doubt that your life will ever be remembered and ever be acknowledged by generation after generation. And then you will be able to create a very big legacy for yourself, just like the people whom I have just mentioned, in the likes of John Milton, and similarly I could say Ratan Tata and all those great iconic people whom I have just referred a few minutes back. The person who developed extensive work is none other than Angela Duckworth. I really wanted to share with you at this point of time, all the people who are attending this session would be getting a book on grit by Angela Duckworth from the organizers immediately after this session. When they are getting the e-certificate, they will also get the book, the soft copy of the book. You need not go and buy, you can go through the book. I would also recommend you to listen to the videos on grit by Angela Duckworth. There are more than 1 dozen videos at YouTube. You could leisurely go through, internalize those concepts, and start practicing, start demonstrating in your professional life. Okay. What is grit? I think I have not talked about what is grit. I think this is a time, it's the right time to know about what is grit. You must have the courage to push yourself. You have to push your envelope and start stretch yourself intensely with passion and also with perseverance. That is what is important. That is what is called as grit. You have to stick to your future day in, day out, not just for today, not just for tomorrow or day after, weeks after weeks, months after months, years after years. You have to continuously start working on this again and again. Simple example is A.R. Rahman is a classical example for that, right? Tendulkar is a classical example for that. Vishwanathan Anand is a classical example for that. John Milton is the classical example for that. All these iconic giants, they are focused only on this and keep on working continuously. They never get distracted. They never get diverted from the goal. Keep on moving, keep on moving, keep on moving. Even one small single step on a day, like that they do. They have the doggedness, they have the tenacity, and they have the perseverance. They have the stubborn refusal to quit. They don't want to quit at any point of time. They keep on moving. That is what I call it as the grit, refusing to give up. I won't give up. I ensure that I'll be able to go and reach it till I start. It is similar to what Swami Vivekananda has said long time back. Arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. It's a classical example of grit, right? So having got an understanding of grit, now let us just move on to uh, move on to how do you define grit in a very, very simple way, right? It is a passion and perseverance. It's all about steadfast to one's own goal. Sustain your interest. It is not like today I'm interested in piano, tomorrow I'm getting interested in football, and day after tomorrow I'm interested in, say, saucer, and next month I'm interested in, say, violin. Not in that way. I can't just shift my interest from one area to the another area like that. But it is more on sustaining the one's own interest and then going deeper toward achieve the long-term goal, right? It's all about what you care so much, right? It gives you meaning, it gives you purpose, it gives you significance, it gives you identity to almost whatever that you do passionately, right? This is what the understanding of grit. I believe that all of you would have got a greater, deeper understanding of grit. Now, let me just move on to the next slide. Stanford study of geniuses. In fact, they studied all geniuses across world, right? What they have found is they did not abandon the task. There was no changeability at all. They are not bored with that. They don't say, I'm looking for change, I'm just changing it. They keep on, despite obstacles, notwithstanding the drawbacks, notwithstanding the sufferings and stumbling blocks, they keep on attending to the task, what is close to heart, what is close to their, what I could say, their mind, the perseverance, the tenacity, and the doggedness. This is what I could say, the classical study of geniuses by Stanford University. I think you could be able to recognize this great actor, iconic actor, Will Smith. Will Smith on success. I think very interesting quote. I would like you to go through it silently. What he's saying here is, I am not a hyper talented guy. I am not a genius, but I'm viewing myself as above average guy. But what I do is I follow a rigorous work ethic, right? When others are sleeping, I work. When others are eating, I work, right? When others are relaxing, I work. When others are, what I could say, chatting with friends, I work. So to me, I live, eat, breathe the task, what I am closely interested to. In fact, he said in one of the interviews, I am not even afraid to die at the treadmill if I'm given the opportunity. I'm not afraid to die in the treadmill. That means he's going for workout. To such an extent, his focus is only upon that all the time. That's what Will Smith is all about. Now, I request and urge every one of you to model Will Smith, right? To model the iconic giants, what I have just now referred in your personal life, in your professional life, and create a legacy for yourself. I think that is the earnest invitation from my end, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I also wanted to say that it is not easy to become genius. It is not easy to succeed and excel in one particular endeavor. To become great in cricket, Tendulkar did not study the important chapters. He studied the entire book. He practices like what I could say, mad guy, right? And to him, practice is sacrosanct. He never compromises anything. That's what Tendulkar is all about, right? 10,000 hour rule. Even he goes beyond 10,000 hours. He goes beyond 10 years. He goes beyond 15 years. He goes beyond 20 years, right? People say you just clap when people are dancing at that stands, either Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi or Kathakali, whatever might be. But it is very delightful to watch, easy, everything. But you could see those individuals, those dancers have sweated. They have given their heart and soul, the blood, everything, so much of fatigue. Despite that, they continue to what I could. Even there were lot of frustrations, depressions, daily small deaths like that. Notwithstanding, their goal is to become an ace dancer, for which they really made it to happen. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, I think, comes to my mind at this point of time. He said, heights of great men reached and kept were not attained by single flight. They whose other companions slept were toiling upward in the night. So if you have committed to the goal, sleep should not hinder you. Sleep should not, what I could say, pull you back. You should continue to slog, continue to work, just like you must be in a state of flow, right? You should forget the environment. You should forget the hunger. You should forget the thirst, and you forget the entire surroundings and give your entire task with complete focus, Arjuna focus. Angela Duckworth further says there are three types of people, right? One type of people, they start the task, they take up the goal, they pursue it for, say, 3 days, 5 days, then after that, it's complete dropout. This is a simple example. I'm reminded of the New Year resolutions. At the time of New Year, people tend to go for walking. People tend to go for extensive, intensive, deep workouts like that. They buy costly shoes, they enroll themselves in the gym, only for the first few days or a week they go. After that, from 15th of January, you could see a huge dropout of the people, the members in the gym, right? This is what a typical example dropout. There are few people who continue to work, continue to move upon, right? Probably for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Then there's a plateau. So there's no development at all. And after that, they quit the task completely, right? There are people of that kind. And even you could say a typical professional life, there are individuals who join a particular company, they take up one particular function, then they learn everything for the first 3 4 years. After that, they won't even learn. There is complete atrophy, complete stagnation, no upskilling, no reskilling, no upgrading of the knowledge, competencies, nothing of that kind. That is what Angela Duckworth calls it as arrested development. The third one, what she calls it as world-class expert, the red line, the red curve. The people continue to work, continue to enjoy that work with a sense of passion, with a sense of perseverance, and then reach that the best in class type of what I could say work. That is the third category of people. So when you put skill in the y-axis and time in the x-axis, this is the way that we could see three types of people. I would like all of you in this what I could say session to become the world class expert by following the third category. So, in this context, I would like to introduce a term called deliberate practice. It is not just the practice, but a deliberate practice. Having known what is grit all about, you must also know how to practice it, right? The first step is you should have a stretch goal. It is not a goal that can be easily achieved, not like a low-hanging fruit. A stretch goal, that is, today I would like to go for 10,000 steps I'm going to make, right? It's a stretch goal. Usually you go for what I could say 5,000 steps. Today, I would like to go for 10,000 steps, right? So stretch goal, have focus 100%, and then start doing it again and again and again. And then ask your stakeholders, ask the significant people around you and get a feedback. How do you see me, right? Do you see me a different me? Do you really perceive me differently compared to what I was 2 months back, 3 months back? Get the feedback, listen to the feedback, however bad, however worse it might be, start reflecting it, start refine it, again further fine tune the goal, improvise it, and start move on. So this is what I call it as, what Angela Duckworth calls it as deliberate practice. I would like you to have this deliberate practice, then only you become successful in any endeavor. Same Angela Duckworth also come out with a very interesting scale called grit scale. It's available. Go to her website and you could see 12-item scale and 8-item scale like that. So what she says is, my interests are not changing year to year. Usually when we were young or when we were in our childhood, our interests start changing. During our childhood times, we used to say, I would like to become doctor, I would like to become teacher, I would like to become an engine driver, I would like to become a police, I would like to become what I could say engineer, like that. So our interests keep on changing. That's quite possible because the children are yet to come into terms and focus her complete thought on one particular interest, the distilled interest. But even among us, even among adults also, we keep on changing the interest. When you keep on changing the interest means your grit is not high, right? Your grit is very, very low. So second statement is setbacks don't discourage me. I don't give up easily. I will keep on moving. I'll keep on pushing myself, push my envelope like that. I often set a goal, but later choose to pursue different goal. You take one goal the month of January, February you take different, March you take different. So that's the third statement. I am a hard worker, you understand. There are people who have got difficulty on focusing on projects which are all 2 year 2 year milestone like that, and they can't have the tolerance, they don't have the patience to execute it till the end. There are people who immediately fail after they have begun, right? They don't even finish whatever they begun, right? And new ideas, sometimes people get distracted. So these are some of the what I could say statements that come from the grit scale. You yourself can go through sincerely and give your responses. You'll also get to know how gritty you are and what you should do to improve, enhance. I think all these suggestions have been given. If you just go through the book or you could go through her videos. Having said that, the questions for you now. The question is, do you demonstrate purpose or passion? Do you demonstrate hunger? Do you demonstrate discipline? I call it as PhD. I call it as PhD in your professional life, in your personal life. If so, how much rating will you give in a scale of 5, right? Where do you stand? Nothing wrong if your score is 2 or 3. Still, there's always a scope for improvement, right? Better late than never. Reflect about this every day and journal it. I would also urge you, recommend you to practice journaling every day. It is very, very important if you really want to succeed in your life, right? Because through journaling, you will be able to reflect on what you have done. It also gives you a directional clarity on how I can do tomorrow better, how I can do things differently. I think that kind of clarity you may be able to gain. So passion is important, discipline is important, and purpose is important, and hunger is also important. If you look upon those people, you could see they exemplify, they embody passion, hunger, and discipline. I'm also giving you what I could say template journaling. Am I progressing daily? Right. What is the rate of success today? Right. And what did I try successfully? Right. You should always explore trying different things. Right. Though I said you have to stick on to one particular task, but what I'm saying is you have to try different methods so as to crack it, so as to decode it. You should not have a convergent thinking. Rather, you should have the out of the box thinking, probably wearing the six thinking hats of Edward de Bono, and then try differently, and then you should be able to crack what is really troubling you or what is really a real puzzle to you, right? If you have experienced small success, you celebrate the success. What are all the things that you failed? What kind of corrective action or course correction I can do, and what I can learn from that incidents, right? And these are all the questions that you must have it in the template of journaling. I also want you to, what I could say, look upon the resource of what I call it as tiny habits. Please take note of it in your diary if you have got diary by your side. Tiny Habits by Mr. Fogg, B.H. Fogg, and likewise Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you just use that particular framework, you could bring wonders to your life. Anything you wanted to start, right? You should start with small, tiny steps, if which is very, very easy, which is very simple, doable, and more than that, you also get a sense of fulfillment. Yes, I have done that. If you just say, I should go for marathon today, I think no one could ever imagine to go like that. But if you just follow the tiny habits framework or atomic habits framework, it will come in handy and it will help you to achieve your goal so easily through that particular framework. Right. Having said about journaling, now I am just going to the next important concept called right? The hope, optimism, right? You could call either this or that. I'm just asking this question. Do you know why car's windshield is so large, whereas the rear view mirror is so small? It's just a quiz question. The answer is very, very simple, right? It's ridiculously simple because I could say past is not as important as future. Look ahead, move on, right? That's what the topic for the day is, how you could prepare for the next normal, right? So how are you going to move forward? How are you going to surge ahead in your life? So that's why we have that, what I could say, the windshield. Dear friends, what we want to have is hope. Someone said long time back, hope is an acronym, happening of positive expectations. Every day we go to bed, there is no assurance that you'll get up the next day. But still, we have our plans for tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, for the coming week, and also for the succeeding months, right? That is what I call it as hope. Sometimes we lose hope because things go wrong, everything is on the wrong side, and you really do not know how to figure it out, how to fix it. At that point of time, we should not lose hope. And you must think and then say, right, it is not the end of the road, it is only a bend, and I will definitely overcome. I will definitely get through. I think that's the kind of thought process you must have. You should be able to see light, right, despite the darkness, right? Not at light at the end of the tunnel. Despite the darkness, you should be able to see the light. That is what I call it as hope, right? It helps you to cope with the difficult times. We ourselves do not know when the market will open, when the economy will open, when we'll get back to our normal life. We do not know, but still we hope at least, I think, in a month's time, in another few months' time, at least the beginning of the next year, things will turn out to be normal, right? So business continuity will happen and all those stuff. So hold on, pain ends. That is someone defined hope in a different way. It is not just work from home. You have to work from hope. I think that is what the real need of the hour. If you have hope, everything is possible. Anything is possible. Having said that, I would like to say, I think all of you know about it, right? Pessimists will consider opportunity as a calamity, whereas optimists will consider even calamity as an opportunity. I think that's what optimists and pessimists significantly differ, right? Off empty and off full. I think most of us are aware of this. Now I will go to the third area, the last area. We spoke about purpose, we spoke about grit, we spoke about hope. Now we are just turning our gears and enter into an area called resilience, right? Every one of us in this world needs resilience, right? I just showcase a picture here. Will you be able to recall which country it's all about, which stands consistently first in demonstrating resilience? Nature is so partial, I should say. I think it has really made that country suffer like anything, unlike other countries, right? That country is none other than the Japan, the Tokyo. It has undergone lot of sufferings and natural upheavals and setbacks. You have the earthquake, you have the tsunami, you have the Nagasaki, Hiroshima explosion, right? The World War. I think it has undergone lot of sufferings beyond words. But every time, Japanese always stand up and then they, with the resilience, and give and bounce back from failures, and prove to the world what they are. Prove to the world what they are, right? And it has really shaped Japanese very well. The hardships really reveal character, demonstrate character. Only through hardships you'll be able to know the real character of the individuals, and the country you'll be able to know about it. Similarly, one city in India which is always consistent in demonstrating resilience is Mumbai. I'm just showing the gateway of India. Mumbai is always known for demonstrating resilience, be it a downpour or be it what I could say a bomb explosion. Next day, I think you could see the what it was the old normal Mumbai busy life we could always see. I think it does not mean that other city lacks resilience, but city Mumbai comes to my mind as far as demonstrating resilience, right? With all due respect to all cities in India. We need to discover, pull them in order to bounce back. Do you recognize this guy? He is none other than Thomas Alva Edison. You must listen to his, what I could say, you must listen to his video and you must read the biography of Alva Edison. Several hundred times he failed. I think failure was his middle name, I could say like that. Every time he failed, I think I must really bounce back. I must really bounce back. Now, without Thomas Alva Edison, I think the entire world will come to a standstill. The electricity, the bulbs, so many inventions, so many hundred patents was in his name, right? To such an extent, Thomas Alva Edison made an indelible impression in the humanity and created a big legacy. I think we could ever remember Thomas Alva Edison for his fantastic contribution to the mankind. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. I think that is what the spirit of resilience all about. Abraham Lincoln, a great guy, the president of America. How many times do you know that he failed? He failed several times. He failed in the, what I could say, the business. He failed in his, what I could say, his love affair, his breakage of the, what I could say, love affair. And he contested in the election. He failed. He stood for the mayor election. He failed. So one after the another, continuously, he failed again in the vice president election. In fact, 40 years, or probably I could say 45 years, he was only having failure as his, he lost his job, lost in the legislative elections, failed in the business. His sweetheart died, right? And he was defeated in the speaker election. He was defeated in the US Senate election. Again, he was nominated for vice president, but again, he did not win. Finally, at 1860, he became the president of America. What an example. He demonstrated resilience at every point of time. What lies behind you and what lies before you is nothing when compared to what lies within you. My dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I would like every one of you to have this statement and start repeat this every day before the mirror when you just start the day, right? You should say, what lies behind me and what lies before me is nothing compared to what lies within me, right? I think that's the kind of internal self-talk you must have, that will definitely take you to a very, very bigger level. I also want to showcase this guy. Do you recognize this guy? This guy is Jack Ma. He's the founder of what I could say Alibaba Group, a technology conglomerate, a Chinese. So much of failures that he had in his lifetime, right? He applied for jobs more than 30 times. He was rejected. He went to Harvard 10 times. He was rejected, right? So he was not bogged down by failures or rejection. He did not continue his life of complaining. Then he started a small startup, Alibaba. Now the rest is the history. A brilliant example of resilience and how he really used his full potential. Now Alibaba becomes is the second name, or probably the next door name in the business world. To such an extent, Jack Ma has made an incredible contribution in the field of business, and his life is life to reckon with. How we bounce back when we hit the bottom. I would like to bring the last example for resilience. Is none other than a guy whom I admire. My son always adores him a lot. Klopp, Jurgen Klopp, from Liverpool. Recently, I think a week back, Liverpool really got the title after 30 years, right? His slogan is doubters to believers, right? It is completely the 30-year hard work. Because of he being a coach, being a mentor, being a manager of the team, he really empowered every team member and really brought out the real talent in every individual. And that has resulted in the phenomenal success of Liverpool. So Liverpool has become the talk of the world as far as the recent victory in the football match is concerned. Having said about that, I also want to bring some examples from the animal kingdom or the species. You could see the spider, you could see the ant, you could see the phoenix. All are known for resilience. I think you would have heard a lot about these species in your own life. and have heard about this, which speaks volumes that they are all known for resilience, right? Having said that, I also want to bring a lesson from baby giraffe. When baby giraffe is born, the mother actually pushes the baby uh, 10 feet or 20 feet away from her, right? The reason is only when I do like that, the baby will be able to get up on its own, so that the baby will be able to become self-sufficient, independent, so that it will not become a prey to lion or any wild species, right? So mother is doing it for the benefit of the baby, and this is again an important resilient lesson which you could learn from baby giraffe. I also want to share even the teacup, right? Actually, we are not loving the cup, we are not loving the tea bag, but we are only loving the tea that what we taste. But the tea bag undergoes enormous hardships within the hot water, right? And you could see only when it is there, the tea contents are there. Only when the bag is inside the hot water, everything will be tasty, right? It transforms itself and it gives the joy. So you could draw a lot of lessons from tea bag. That's also an important learning you could have it from this session. So I would like to ask you a fundamental question, my dear friends. Would you really choose to be a tomato or a tennis ball? I think that's a question you must ask. Tomato, what does it signify? If you just smash it at the wall, you just throw the tomato at the wall, it gets smashed, all the seeds, everything gets spilled out, and it is completely not useful to eat. Whereas when you just throw the tennis ball, it bounces back again, it comes back to you. So the choice is completely yours. It is your choice. You decide whether you would like to become a tennis ball or would you like to become a tomato, where you are more like touch me not plant, too sensitive, you get crushed, you get intimidated even by the smallest thing, right? So you have to take a call what you would like to be. So, my dear friends, at the end of the session, I really want you to practice this self-talk within you when you are alone. Your self-talk is, you should always say to yourself, I should keep on trying. I should keep on trying until I succeed. I will never complain if I don't get in the way. If you really don't get what you really want, you start complaining, you start blaming the environment. You just criticize every Tom, Dick, and Harry around you, which you should not. And you have to make the best use of your time, because time is the only resource that is available. God has given to every one of us uniformly. How you are going to plan, schedule it, properly plan, execute it, there lies the real expertise and the skill. You should also make use of your signature strengths, deploy those strengths, and then reach your full potential. uh, Always change the things what you can and accept the things what you cannot. uh, Definitely all of us will be able to survive and thrive this moment also. The world has seen Spanish flu 200 years back. It has seen Great Depression. It has seen world wars. It has seen right, all kind of natural calamities and economic crisis. But still, we were able to, what I could say, bounce back from those setbacks and come back. I really want you to chant the serenity prayer. Oh God, grant me the serenity to accept those things what I cannot, and courage to change the things what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Right? Chanting the serenity prayer will definitely help you. Have the philosophy of life. This will pass. I promise that this will pass. I think have that. Thank you, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind listening. And I really enjoyed the session with all of you. And this topic is very, very close to my heart. And I thank the organizers for giving this opportunity. And trust, I believe that you would have got some actionable insights from this session. Let us all stay connected and together make a substantive difference to our community. Shall we? Thank you.